looks like we're breaking down Halloween Kills, and I'm gonna go scene by scene to break down what I didn't like about it, but also point out what I do like. But I want to start this all off by saying that this is just my opinion. It's how I feel about a movie. If you feel differently, I totally respect that. Don't let me saying that I hated this movie make you feel like you need to defend it or anything. We don't have to like the same things. I'm totally okay with that. But at the same time, please give the same respect back. I don't think that you're a worse person for liking a movie, and I would hope that you would think the same thing about me. Now let's get to it. So you have this whole 12-minute sequence at the beginning with a flashback to 1978. It's a good mood starter and all, and some fine nostalgia nods. And if you're gonna throw Jim Cummings in there, then you're gonna get a point. But hot damn, is this unnecessary? It's just for the sake of the nostalgia. And while it does have a tiny speck of character stuff for Hawkins, it's nothing that isn't conveyed in his flashback scene that's shown later in the movie. Keep that scene in and cut this scene off, and the same contributions to the overall story is intact. Carpenter doing the score is a win. There's no way to watch something with his music behind it and not get that good feeling. So that's a big plus. And then we're next introduced to our side characters. They're all survivors of the first film, and they're at a bar, and they're gonna stay at that bar until the 50-minute mark of the movie. What are they doing there? They're talking about Michael Myers and what a big impact that he had on all of them, except the last movie bent over backwards to tell us that one night was no big deal, that Michael's rampage was just a blip in the town's history, and everyone, and I mean everyone, treated Laurie like she was insane for not being over it. That was literally earlier this evening, but now there's like whole groups of people meeting together to discuss it. You just gave us an entire movie telling us that Laurie was alone in all of this and had mental issues because no one believed her, but now Tommy is raising toasts to her? Then you've got this firefighter battle scene, and that's fine. It plays out like any martial arts battle where everyone is nice enough to storm in one by one. It's fine. And then you've got this nice little mayhem scene with the elderly couple that I like quite a bit. It does a good job of humanizing them before the violence. This seems to be Green's best skill because there's a few of these over this one and the last one, and I do like that. The deaths are fine, but what's Michael's motivation here? I've seen people just say that Michael is Jason now, and it's a fair comparison. In the first movie, he had a specific reason for stalking who he did. He was after Jamie because he reminded her of his sister. Is he just killing to kill now? At random? That's fine and all, but that's just not interesting to me. Love it or hate it, having Laurie be his sister gave Michael a reason for being, and not just being a senseless slasher like all of the others. It gave him a reason, and I liked that. It was nice. Then, okay. Then you have the subplot that makes me insane. There's apparently two guys that live in the Myers house now, and they're aware that it's the Myers house. Everyone is aware that it's the Myers house. So, to spell that out, people who live in the house of a mass murderer, the same house that the same murderer returned to after killing people 40 years ago, aren't concerned that he might do so again. Why are there no police outside? Why are they even staying there? It's all over the news that Myers is loose, so why would they remain in the house? Or at least be concerned that he's out there. When he kills the one guy, he says, "Michael, you came home." Well, of course he did! That's exactly what he did last time. It doesn't take a psychologist to figure out that he might repeat that pattern. Even if he didn't, who the hell would take that chance? Then there's this whole playground scene in which everyone makes really dumb choices and multiple characters have guns, and yet no one can quite figure out how to shoot Myers, but it's honestly no more obnoxious than most killer attack scenes, so I'm not going to be too ticked about it. It's a fine scene of violence, even if it's dumb. By this point, we're close to an hour in. We're halfway through the movie. What happened? Nothing. Michael is still alive, loose in a town. Characters are finding out he's still alive and reacting to it. That's it. 50 minutes of that. We're really only with the characters for a minute or two, and no one has any clear character issues or development. Hell, Laurie's comatose for most of it. There's a nice moment between her and Hawkins that's a good bit. I wish they had played up their relationship a little bit more in the first movie to set this up, but whatever. Then there's just this inordinate amount of time in which every character is at the hospital. The whole town is just here for some reason, including, I guess, the entire police force. At no point in this movie is there scenes of police officers out on the town searching for Michael. They're just camped out at the hospital. I think the implication was that it's a small town police department, but they sure had a maxed out fire squad who has a whole team of firemen equipped with giant buzzsaws and everything, but then has this tiny police force. It's also been hours and hours into this night of attacks, including a prison transport that overturned. This is a big incident. Assistance from nearby counties could be in effect, so where's any of that? There's also this whole plot line about the mob mistaking another inmate for Michael Myers somehow and chasing him until he kills himself. This whole scenario starts in the weirdest way possible, with a short, fat, balding man with a huge cut on his head standing outside of a window yelling, "Help me." For some reason, then every person around just says, "Oh hey, that's Michael Myers." Keep in mind, they've been running news stories about the escaped prisoners all night, and Michael is now supposed to be this huge stain on the town's history, and yet no one knows what he looks like. I would have understood if they thought it was Michael, started freaking out, and then they just looked at the guy and were like, LOL, that's clearly not him, and then went about their business. If that scene were there, it'd make sense. This whole plot line would still be as pointless, but at least it would make sense. There's one great nugget amidst all of that, though, even if it's just a tiny one. Oscar, one of the kids killed in the last film, has a mom who's desperately looking for him because he never came back from the party. In the middle of the chaos, she seeks his dead body in the morgue, and she sees it, and we see her anguish. It's a great moment because in horror movies we get so wrapped up in the kills and the victims, and this type of aftermath is never really seen. Oscar was just a teenager with a mom who loved him and worried about him, and now he's on a slab, and her trauma is all over the screen. It's a great scene, and it's one that I wish that they explored more instead of focusing on chasing a fat dude out of a window. By this point, we're an hour and 12 minutes into the movie, and still there's absolutely no central plot except Michael's out there killing, and we're all organizing to find him. That's it. There's been nothing else. Next, in what I think might be the dumbest section of the film, Lonnie, get your ass away from there, figures out that Michael is going back to his old house, and he's the only one to think of this for some reason, even though, again, it's literally what he did the last time. The mob is behind him. The police are there. People with guns and bats surround him. So what does he do? Load up a car with his teenage son and his girlfriend and goes there themselves. No reason is given as to why he does this alone, and doesn't tell anyone else. He just does. After Michael is obviously at his old house and obviously kills Lonnie and his son, because what did they think was going to happen, Karen shows up to make Michael chase her. They do the fake out thing with her again, which is a nice moment. I like that. I was half expecting it because it's what they did in the last one, but it worked. And the town just lays out Michael. There's like 80 people there and they shoot him and all that. Again, the police are nowhere to be found. A whole group of people just up and left the hospital, and none of them said, hey, maybe we should follow them and see what's up. Are the police just all still hanging out at the hospital? And then, in the middle of all of this, for some reason, Karen just decides to wander into the Myers house by herself, leaving her daughter, who was almost just killed, and watched her boyfriend murdered in front of her eyes, alone. And Michael's there, somehow. I suppose he killed all 40 of the people around him and made it over to the house without anyone seeing or hearing him, like no one witnessed him get up and went to warn other people or anything. I guess they're insinuating that the group of people he killed were the only ones left in that area, and he got all of them, but no one, not one person in the remaining group of people heard this whole thing going on a block away. They show people screaming as he kills them, but I guess they were doing that old quiet screaming, so no one noticed. So I suppose you're saying, but that's all nitpicks and just general dumb stuff that's in every horror movie. Well, that's fine. But for me, it goes deeper than that. As a guy that likes horror because of good stories, there's none here. As I've already stated, there's no plot at all to this film. It's literally just Michael still alive and killing people. Townsfolk organize to stop him, find him within 5 minutes of actually looking, fight, end. It feels like a collection of deleted scenes. It's like they shot this whole other movie with a central character and driving storyline. And that movie's out there somewhere, but then they also shot all this ancillary stuff that doesn't really matter, and someone saw it and said, cut all that stuff out of it because it doesn't affect anything. But instead, they accidentally released that stuff instead of the main storyline. I don't know who the main character is, because you'd think Laurie, but she's in it for about 5 minutes. Her granddaughter, who was a significant part of the first one, is sidetracked for 80% of this movie and really only does anything in the final 20 minutes. Same thing with Karen. For a bit, it seems like they want Tommy Doyle to be the main character, but he has no character arc and no development and doesn't even really do anything, and he's not even likable. They build up Hawkins by making him the focus of a 12-minute flashback scene, but then just have him lay in bed for the entire rest of the film. Everything about this one screams studio influence. It feels like they had a good idea for 2 movies, but were then asked to deliver a trilogy. But there really wasn't anywhere else to go with it, so they had to stall for time. Don't believe me? At the ending of the last movie, Laurie was injured and on her way to the hospital. Her family was shaken up, with her granddaughter traumatized by the attack. The town was in disarray, realizing that Michael had returned to kill again. By the ending of this film, literally all of that is still the same, except now Karen's dead. Almost all of the characters introduced in this film are now dead, so they won't impact the third film. So again, it's like they needed to make sure that everything is still in the same place they needed it to be to get to the final film. Plus, here's a drinking game. Take a shot every time that someone says he dies tonight or evil dies tonight. Make sure that you have enough liquor for 300 to 400 shots. Is this the worst Halloween film? No. It's well shot. It has that great score. And the killing stuff is pretty great and all. But considering how superfluous the whole thing is, it'll probably be one of my least favorite to watch. Love them or hate them, at least 5 or 6 had a contribution to the storyline as a whole, and Resurrection was at least unintentionally hilarious. This one takes itself so seriously most of the time, so I can't even really say that it's fun, like Busta Rhymes' Karate is fun. It's definitely a better movie than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Am I saying? Yeah. It's definitely a better movie than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, but I don't know if I personally like it more than his first one. At least that one had a cohesive storyline. I'm not saying that any of those movies are good. I don't want to sound like I'm defending any of them, but I think I can say that I dislike them less than this one. All that being said, this is just my personal take, and if you don't agree with it, I'm fine with it. If you love this movie, I'm cool with that. If this is your favorite Halloween movie, it better not be. If this is your second favorite Halloween movie, then that's fine. Good on you. That's totally your opinion. I'm totally okay with that. This is just why I didn't like it. I want to know if you did love it. What did you love about it? Put it down below in the comments, and I want to see that. yeah, that's about it. That's how I feel. Happy Halloween.